How's it going, everybody? I'm Stella Chung, and this is the Weekly Fix, the show where we round up all the gaming and entertainment headlines you may have missed this week. Cyberpunk 2077's next-gen update has finally arrived for us all to play, and Microsoft is hinting at Call of Duty returning to Nintendo consoles. In the entertainment world, Futurama is being renewed by Hulu without the original voice actor for Bender, and Kevin Feige assures us that Moon Knight is going to be brutal. Let's keep the good vibes going and dive right in.
The wait for PS5 and Xbox Series X and S upgrades for Cyberpunk 2077 is now over, with releases happening today. Expect a free trial version, free DLC, and a huge 50 to 60 gigabyte 1.5 patch update to all platforms. Hoo boy, here we go. Announced today on the CD Projekt Red stream, the new versions and 1.5 patch have some serious overhaul, with the Xbox version getting a patch upgrade and the PS5 getting an entirely new version of the game that will require players to transfer their existing save data from the PS5 edition. Let's go over the changes. Both the PS5 and Xbox Series X games now offer performance or ray tracing modes, with the Xbox Series S only offering a single 30 FPS 1440p mode. With the latest patch, players will have the ability to change their character's basic appearance in the mirror of V's home apartment with new hair and makeup options. Players will also be able to buy new cosmetic makeovers for V's apartment and even rent 4 brand new properties across Night City. These properties can also entice your romantic partners to drop by to stay the night. So keep it clean in there, okay? Nobody likes to come over to a filthy apartment. New weapons have also been added, purchasable at Wilson's gun store after you meet Takamura in the game's story. 2 new weapons and 4 new weapon scopes have been added, as well as tons of new weapon attachments for handguns, assault rifles, submachine guns, and more. CDPR devs also mentioned that new secrets have been added to the game. So yeah, go find those. Changes to the perk trees have also been made to rebalance the game with the stealth, now called ninjutsu, and the removal of some skills that were less useful. NPC AI has also been updated to make enemy NPCs more clever and foot car traffic more realistic. Improved crowd reactions will only be coming to PC and Stadia, and a new gen console version of the game. Time skipping has also been updated, with crowds changing around V and to make the skip time UI a bit more legible. Now, driving has also been updated as well, with vehicles tweaked to brake more effectively and make burnout and drifting more usable. Calling in multiple different cars will also cause them to appear in different places now, rather than crashing into one another in the same spot, although that was very funny. But this only scratches the surface of the features and fixes added to Cyberpunk 2077. Other notable improvements are more photorealistic shadows, reflection rendering, new language voiceover support, balanced HDR, and haptic feedback for PS5. So yeah, it's kind of a lot. This feels like maybe they should have put it out today. I don't know, what do I know? New apartments can now be rented for a one-time fee, with additional customization options accessible from V's starting apartment. Now, V can also get temporary buffs from inside the apartment by taking a shower for a refresh buff that regenerates health during combat, sleeping to get a rested buff, which grants an extra 20% skill XP gain, and brewing coffee to get an energized buff of 25% to max stamina, and 30% to stamina regen for 1 hour. Now, a new photo mode with new poses for Johnny Silverhand available in flashback scenes, as Johnny has also been added. The lengthy list of patch notes with updates to combat AI, crowd improvements, driving vehicles, vehicle traffic, gameplay, quests, environment levels, and more can all be found in IGN's detailed article. I highly recommend taking a peek at it, as it has changed constantly. So for instance, you can even sell old cyberware to Ripper Docs now. River will finally stop hanging up on you. There's just so much here. Also on PC and console specific changes, there's benchmark modes and the removal of NVIDIA 700 series graphics cards. Read that whole thing. It's just it's like a CVS receipt of patch notes. It's gigantic. Moving on, Xbox Game Pass games for the second half of February have been revealed and include some notable games to sink your teeth into. The turn-based strategy and real-time tactics game Total War Warhammer 3 is coming to Game Pass on PC. Move armies, manage settlements, and fight against factions while trying your hands at diplomacy. Total War Warhammer 3 will come to Game Pass February 17th. After that, get your hands dirty with Lawn Mowing Simulator on Xbox One, also on February 17th, and experience the best lawn mowing sim out there with a physically authentic and expensive world of prestigious manufacturers and beautiful fields that need a good mowing. RoboQuest also comes to Xbox Game Pass on PC as a game preview. The fast-paced FPS can be played solo or two-player co-op, so fight through procedurally generated biomes of scorched canyons and vivid cities. Love a good vivid city. The preview will hit Xbox Game Pass on February 22nd. The turn-based strategy game Galactic Civilization 3 comes to Xbox Game Pass PC February 24th. Rule the galaxy however you like in this critically acclaimed space strategy game. Also, Super Mega Baseball 3 comes to Xbox Game Pass console February 24th, play ball. Then the psycho horror hack and slash Alice Madness Returns comes to Xbox Game Pass on PC February 28th. Dive deep into the dark and violent side of imagination as Alice faces demons that haunt her visions. And if you haven't had the chance yet, the games set to leave Xbox Game Pass in February are Control, Code Vein, Final Fantasy XII, The Zodiac Age, The Medium, Project Winter, and The Falconeer. That's very soon, and there's some very big games in there, so I guess hurry up. I was gonna play Code Vein, now it's already going. Why do I wait for these things?
The PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X updates for Cyberpunk 2077 are out now, and one upgrade to the NPCs was deemed too demanding to bring to PS4 and Xbox One. The 1.5 patch came with many changes for all available platforms, but one next-gen only feature caught our eye. CD Projekt Red announced that the game's crowd reactions have been improved, both for pedestrians and vehicles. The changes mean that crowds in the game will now react more realistically to your aggressive actions, with NPCs fighting back, running away, or even fighting each other. Quest director Paul Sasko says, "Some of the people are actually armed, and they may decide to attack you at the moment when you threaten them in some ways." In cars, similar reactions can take place with what the team calls panic driving. The drawback here is that the change could seemingly only be made on PS5, Xbox Series X, PC, and Stadia, with PS4 and Xbox One versions retaining the original AI. Speaking to IGN, CD Projekt Red Global PR Director Radek Grabowski explained the decision, effectively saying that the update to AI was too demanding for the older hardware. He said, "I can say that with the changes and additions being made via updates to Cyberpunk 2077's core, the game, which was already technically complex, is becoming more and more so. This growing complexity requires more resources, such as faster internal storage or more memory, of which there is typically a finite amount on consoles. With this in mind, we've made the decision to introduce some features only in the next-gen versions when it comes to consoles, in order to keep targeting the delivery of the most optimal and stable gameplay experience on base PlayStation 4 and Xbox One hardware." It will be interesting to see where Cyberpunk goes from here. While we know that much of the team is working on an expansion rather than the core game, there will almost certainly be further tweaks and improvements. Whether those arrive on all platforms will be a point of great interest. As a lot of people have said, since Cyberpunk's release, maybe it should have skipped the PS4 and Xbox One altogether. Speaking of Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red, the game director on The Witcher 3 and co-director for Cyberpunk 2077 has started up a new AAA studio in Poland called Rebel Wolves. Konrad Tomaskowicz says the studio has already lined up its first project, a AAA dark fantasy game built using Unreal Engine 5. You're looking at the first teaser art for the game right here. The Rebel Wolves team is assembled from veterans of the Polish AAA development scene, including those who've worked on Cyberpunk 2077, The Witcher series, Thronebreaker, and Shadow Warrior 2. Jacob Zamalek, narrative director on Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077, said, "In order to create truly great games, we won't chase trends or numbers. Our goal is clearly defined: to create memorable games, tell moving stories, and evoke visceral emotions. It's ambitious, true, and I'm glad it is. Art needs ambition. I don't want to create another game, I want to work on titles people will remember." Founder Tomaskowicz says the name for the studio was inspired by the power that comes from a pack of wolves versus a lone wolf. He says, "Personally, I couldn't be happier to have banded together with friends who share this passion. We're developing a video game we'd like to play in a way that games should be made." The move away from traditional AAA development could be a response to reports of crunch employed in some of Poland's biggest development studios like CD Projekt Red and Techland. Are you interested in a dark fantasy game from a lot of the talent behind The Witcher and Cyberpunk?
Microsoft's goal is to put Activision Blizzard games on as many systems as possible, and to achieve that, it plans to bring its IPs to Nintendo consoles. According to an article on CNBC, President Brad Smith publicly made a statement that Microsoft will continue to bring Activision Blizzard games to PlayStation and aims to have some of its popular titles available on Nintendo too. The last time a COD game was on a Nintendo device was Call of Duty Ghosts back in 2013, with Call of Duty games irregularly releasing on Nintendo systems prior to that. Smith's goal with Activision Blizzard titles will seemingly mimic the company's acquisition of Mojang back in 2014, with the extension of Minecraft to more devices. devices. Smith continued saying, "What we've done with that acquisition, I think, is a clear indicator of what we hope to do if we acquire Activision Blizzard. Namely, invest in even more in innovation, bring it to more people, bring it to more platforms, make it even more useful and hopefully delightful for the people who use it." Moving on, Sony PlayStation rolled out the red carpet early in a PlayStation blog listing 7 new indie games coming to PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and PSVR. The games were announced via PS blog post starting this morning with a new title release every 15 minutes. Head of PlayStation Indie Shuhei Yoshida introduced the mini event which revealed details around the indie games, all of which are coming very soon. The first reveal in the lineup was Tribute Games announcing Master Splinter as a playable character in the retro beat-em-up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. So if you are eager to play as a calm and collective Splinter Sensei, you'll have to wait till later this year for its release. The stealthy and nerve-wracking sequel to Hello Neighbor is coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 this year, with a beta kicking off April 7th for those who pre-ordered. Hello Neighbor 2 will add a larger world, multiple enemies, and a neural network that allows the AI enemy to learn how to outsmart you. The one-hit kill platform fighting game Samurai Gun 2 is coming to PlayStation 5, and it's getting a new crew, well, the Among Us crew to be exact, as well as Anna from Spelunky 2 and Minute. The game was released on PC in 2019, but the entire package will soon come to PlayStation 5. No release date is mentioned yet. The 2D Souls-like sequel to Salt and Sanctuary, Salt and Sacrifice, arrives on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 May 10th with an optional PvP mode and seems to be a bit more dynamic than its predecessor, with sprint attacks, grappling, and runic art spells. The high-speed first-person shooter Post Void will release on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 with a procedurally generated world where you only have one life, and if you die, well, the game regenerates a new world and you start over. The sequel to the action puzzle PSVR title Moss will feature expansive multi-dimensional puzzles and even better platforming challenges with seamless cuts and no load time. Moss Book 2 will let you take the game at your own pace with new perspectives and hidden puzzles. The 2D pixel art survivor horror game Anima Well is coming to PlayStation 5 from solo developer Billy Basso. The platform, puzzling horror game has players explore and discover new abilities and items in a surreal, interconnected labyrinth looking to keep you on your toes. No release date yet on this title, but it should be released at the end of 2022, early 2023.
It's time to take a quick break, but when we come back, we've got John DiMaggio's reason for not reprising his role as Bender and news on Moon Knight being loud and brutal. Back in a bit. Welcome back. After learning John DiMaggio would not be returning as the voice of Bender in the Futurama reboot, the hashtag Bendergate trended on Twitter. But first, we've got a bit more gaming news as the PlayStation 5 was announced to be the best-selling console in January. Let's check out all the details.
PlayStation 5 was announced to be the best-selling US console in January 2022 by NPD Group. The analyst group's latest data disclosed the PlayStation 5 being the best-selling hardware in both units and dollars made. The Xbox Series XS placed second in the same categories. Before 2022, the highest figure to date were back in 2009 when the Wii, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3 had been on the market for some years. In software sales, Pokemon Legends Arceus took the top spot, followed by Call of Duty Vanguard, Monster Hunter Rise, Madden NFL 22, and God of War in 5th place. As of February 2nd, the PlayStation 5 has officially outsold the Nintendo Wii U, hitting 17.3 million sales over the holiday season. Even with massive shortages, PlayStation 5 outsold the PlayStation 4 in its first year and became the fastest-selling console in the US history in both unit and dollar sales in its first 5 months on the market. Moving on, in great news, Horizon Zero Dawn has sold over 20 million copies across PlayStation 4 and PC globally. The new statistic shows numbers of copies sold on both platforms as of November 2021, with over 1 billion hours spent playing the game. That's great news for the team, considering Alloy is returning very soon in a sequel, Forbidden West. Nico Partners analyst Daniel Ahmad mentioned the Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition released on both PlayStation 4 and PC and had helped the game reach this sales milestone, with the last known sales figure clocked at over 10 million back in 2019. So congrats to Horizon Zero Dawn making it to the 20 million plus copies club, joining God of War, Uncharted 4, and The Last of Us. And finally, if you're like me, you have like 5 different tabs open trying to get the Lost Ark Twitch drops while also having the game in the background, as you are in a queue of like 10,000. Well, to fix the situation, Lost Ark is offering players who paid to play the MMO early additional items if they switch to quieter servers. In an effort to alleviate the struggle with long queue times as the official launch of the game looms closer, Lost Ark's developer Smilegate stated in a blog post that several measures to reduce queue times will be initiated. Players who bought the Founders Pack to gain early access will be offered the same items again if they switch to quieter servers to spread the huge volume of players around. Currently, the game doesn't allow existing characters to be transferred to new servers and would force players to start a new game again from scratch with new characters. This means any premium items from the previous server would have been left behind, but Smilegate is having a change of heart to allow Founder Pack holders to transfer their treasured items to any new server of their choosing. In addition to the offer, those who purchase the Silver, Gold, or Platinum packs will also be given extra royal crystals that can be used to buy skins, mounts, stronghold decorations, and more premier items in the in-game shop.
Now, Hulu is looking to take us back to the future with their revival of the Futurama series on Hulu, but it seems Bender might not be back, baby. Yeah, the voice of the foul-mouthed robot, John DiMaggio, has yet to sign on to reprise his role in the series. Now, I think Bender himself put it perfectly.
O cruel fate, to be thusly boned. Ask not for whom the bone bones, it bones for thee.
Yes, I feel you, Bender. Now, according to Deadline, negotiations came to a standstill after DiMaggio felt the proposal offered to him was not competitive based on the success of the show and name recognition. Now, Deadline notes that the offer given to DiMaggio was in line with fellow leads Billy West and Katie Sagal. Now, while both sides are eager to get things rolling, it appears to be a case of DiMaggio wanting more money. Now, it seems the entire internet is on DiMaggio's side as the hashtag Bendergate was trending across social media. Now, many fans and people in the industry came out in support of DiMaggio returning as Bender, but it seems Hulu is pushing forward as they already have a table read scheduled and the casting call went out a while back for a voice match for Bender. Now, while there's probably a great deal of impressionists out there, including myself, that can do a pretty good Bender voice, there's nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing like having the OG, the creator of the iconic voice we've come to love in countless episodes of Futurama making a comeback. And after all, voice acting isn't just about the sound, it's about the acting, and DiMaggio deserves to see his character through to the end, however many times they decide to bring back Futurama. Moving on to another streaming service, Netflix is removing a few Marvel superheroes from their original shows catalog. Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, The Punisher, and The Defenders will be leaving the streaming platform come March. Now, with the Daredevil's Matt Murdock and Kingpin officially crossing over into the MCU in No Way Home and Disney Plus's Hawkeye, it's no surprise that these shows are leaving the streaming service. Disney Marvel might have something larger in store for these characters, but we'll have to wait and see what that might be. Now, one Marvel character that we won't be seeing in live action form, at least for now, is Gambit. Now, the movie based on the card-throwing X-Men was set to star Channing Tatum until the idea got nixed entirely. Now, the director of the project, Reed Carolyn, recently spoke with Playlist to give us a bit more info on the now canceled project. Now, he said, quote, "It was all this kind of low-level mutant fights and disagreements. We set it in this world of the mafia, almost kind of like a mutant Goodfellas in New Orleans." Now, when Fox was acquired by Disney back in 2019, they put an end to the project. Now, I don't know, what do you think? Did Disney save us from true cringe, or was this something that you would have liked to witness on the big screen? Let's talk about it down below.
Futurama fans have been up in arms recently after it was revealed that Bender voice actor John DiMaggio would not be returning for the new season on Hulu, and that the role would be recast. DiMaggio's iconic drinking, swearing, nihilistic Bender is beloved by fans, and a storm of angry tweets have made it known they won't support the show without him involved, hence the term Bendergate. DiMaggio took to Twitter to address the controversy directly, explaining that he didn't sign on for the Futurama revival because he's trying to negotiate for better pay. His letter to the fans reads, quote, "Just to be clear, I don't think that only I deserve to be paid more. I think the entire cast does. Negotiations are a natural part of working in business. Everyone has a different strategy and different boundaries. Their price. Some accept offers, some hold their ground. Bender is part of my soul, and nothing about this is meant to be disrespectful to the fans or my Futurama family. It's about self-respect. And honestly, being tired of an industry that's become far too corporate and takes advantage of artists' time and talent." DiMaggio's plight has earned the support of his peers, with fellow voice actor James Adomian calling out Hulu for trying to lowball Bender. And Adomian revealed that the voice acting community was taken aback when Hulu sent out an audition notice looking for Bender's sound-alikes to replace DiMaggio. And you can imagine how Bender fans took that news.
Bite my shiny metal ass.
As of right now, according to Deadline, DiMaggio still hopes to reach a deal with Studio 20th Television Animation. So we'll have to wait and see what the future has in store for Futurama before its return in 2023. What are your thoughts on the Bendergate debacle? Let us know in the comments. Even though the Batman movie isn't out yet, that isn't stopping director Matt Reeves and star Robert Pattinson from teasing ideas they have for future installments. At a recent Q&A with the cast of The Batman, Pattinson was asked how he feels about introducing Batman's sidekick Robin in a sequel. The Batman looks quite serious and intense, which would seem at odds with the colorful boy wonder, but surprisingly, Pattinson said he's on board, with one condition, saying, quote, "He has to be 13, that's the only way I'll accept it." He's joking, right? Well, maybe not. Pattinson went on to praise the classic Batman comic Death in the Family, which features the tragic death of teenage Robin, Jason Todd, at the hands of the Joker. So if a sequel does introduce Robin, maybe we shouldn't expect him to last very long. Meanwhile, Reeves fielded a question about whether he'd want to include more over-the-top supervillains like Mr. Freeze. Again, to our surprise, Reeves was into the idea, saying, quote, "I think there's actually a grounded version of that story, which could be really powerful and could be really great. I just feel drawn to finding the grounded version of everything. So to me, it would be a challenge and an interesting way to try and figure out how that would happen." Last time we saw Mr. Freeze on the big screen, he made a giant diamond-powered ice laser that he used to bring a new ice age to Gotham City. So yeah, Reeves would have to do some tinkering to make the fantastical villain fit his more grounded world. But knowing that Reeves is up to the challenge, that's actually really cool.
Brace yourselves, true believers. Kevin Feige says the upcoming Moon Knight show is going to be, quote, brutal, and if you know Moon Knight from the comics, then that is exactly what you should expect. Speaking with Empire, the Marvel boss explained how the white-clad hero is going to hit the small screen without pulling any punches, quite literally. Feige said, quote, "He's brutal. It's been fun to work with Disney Plus and see the boundaries shifting on what we're able to do. There are moments in this series when Moon Knight is wailing on another character and it is loud and brutal, and the knee-jerk reaction is, we're gonna pull back on this, right? No, we're not pulling back. There's a tonal shift. This is a different thing. This is Moon Knight." Comic fans like to compare Moon Knight to Batman, and when it comes to beating bad guys to a pulp while wearing a cape, they're not wrong, but the big difference between the two is, well, everybody and their mom knows who Batman is, whereas Moon Knight is a slightly deeper cut, and that's precisely why star Oscar Isaac enjoys playing the character so much. He told Empire, quote, "He's an obscure hero and the things we're dealing with are very different, but because it's a limited series rather than a movie, the pressure isn't there to make sure the opening weekend is massive. We're able to take more risks and bring that experimental quality on a huge scale. We'll all get to see if those big risks pay off when Moon Knight hits Disney Plus on March 30th. Moviegoers in North America have to wait a bit longer to watch the upcoming Uncharted movie starring Tom Holland as that roguish treasure hunter Nathan Drake, but until then, you can rest easy knowing it's doing quite well at the box office across the pond. The film grossed an impressive $21.5 million in ticket sales across 15 overseas markets, according to Variety, which is about $1.5 million for every year that Uncharted spent in development hell. If you haven't been keeping track, the first mention of an Uncharted movie was way back in 2008, and since then, Mark Wahlberg went from playing the lead to playing the older mentor figure, Sully. The long-awaited video game adaptation made the biggest splash in the UK, where its $6.4 million haul has put it on track to outperform other pandemic-era blockbusters such as Eternals, Black Widow, and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings in that market. So Uncharted is off to a promising start and will continue to chart its performance once it hits North American theaters this week on February 18th.
Every night, I dream the same dream. And then... the nightmare begins. I did what I had to do to protect our world.
You cannot control everything, Strange. You opened the doorway between universes, and we don't know who or what will walk through it.
Wanda, what do you know about the multiverse?
Viz had his theories. He believed it was dangerous.
He was right.
I'm sorry, Stephen. Your desecration of reality will not go unpunished.
We should tell him the truth.
Things just got out of hand.
You break the rules. Look out! You become a hero. I do it, and I become the enemy. It doesn't seem fair.
I'm Stella Chung, and that was your weekly fix. We'll be back here next Saturday with more of the biggest gaming and entertainment news of the week. Catch you then.